Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club, Kenworth Trucks Australia, Pace Farm Eggs, and Dasmac, shipping your classic car from the world to your doorstep.
Hello and welcome to Indiana, crossing parts of the United States for 2025 with a big thanks to Shannons. You are about to see the newly renovated Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum in this week's Classic Restos Stateside. How incredible is this? In all of its enormity, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum has just undertaken a $60 million 17-month renovation, now showcasing 40,000 square feet of additional exhibit and experience space.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum has had its first significant renovation in 40 years. This iconic motor speedway museum represents more than a century of motorsports history and is driven by its mission to celebrate and preserve the history behind the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indianapolis 500. Since 1956, when the museum first opened, it has brought to life the innovation, thrill and cultural significance of motor racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What began with only 12 cars on display has become one of the world's premier collections of over 150 racing automobiles and more than 55,000 artefacts. This incredible initiative ignites curiosity, sparks discovery, and embraces tradition. It was established in 1956. The current building here opened in 1976. There are 33 lights in the entryway rotunda representing the 33 drivers in the Indianapolis 500. The banking in the Indianapolis 500 Winners Gallery on the lower level matches the banking of the 4 turns on the IMS Oval, 9 degrees, 12 minutes, and this is barely a drop in the ocean. Excluding museum staff, more than 180 team members, from architects to fabricators to construction staff, brought this project together over 164,000 work hours. Kelsey, how are you?
I'm great, Fletch. Thanks for visiting.
That's okay. What an amazing place this is.
Yes, our museum just reopened in April, and it is gorgeous now. We're a proper museum where we're displaying the cars like the pieces of art they are.
Yeah, this is the sort of place where you've got to kind of pinch yourself to make you, realise that you're here. If you have never been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, well, what can I say? Try and get here. And if you have been here, well, you'll understand what we're saying. But having said that, things have changed in just this last couple of months, haven't they?
Yes. So we reopened in April 2025 after about a 17-month renovation, over $60 million of renovation. And we are a nonprofit, so we had to fundraise for that money. And thankfully, a lot of people agree with our mission, which is to celebrate and preserve the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indianapolis 500. And so now we have this beautiful museum.
We're talking a history of over 100 years.
Yes, a 116-year history of this track, which was originally built in 1909. And we have winning Indianapolis 500 cars here in our collection from the very first winner in 1911 all the way up to 2022.
Isn't that amazing? And there's a lot of significance, obviously, to the bricks as well. You might want to explain that to us.
Yes, so the track was paved with about 3.2 million bricks, and that's why the track is known as the Brickyard. And now it is paved over with asphalt except for 1 yard of bricks that's at the start-finish line, and that's where you hear about the tradition of the winners kissing the bricks.
what I love is that you've got like the first car, like a 1911 Marmon Wasp over there that we'll see later, and it's an evolution. It's a timeline, and we go through those doors over there to Gasoline Alley, and well, that's just another section again.
Yes, our Gasoline Alley Gallery is a literal walk through history, and you'll definitely hear from Jason, our curator, on all about that history. But a brief overview is the garages start from the beginning of the Speedway in 1909 all the way up to more modern day of what a garage would look like. And on the other side, we have artifacts on display from those relevant eras.
Jason, Fletch, pleased to meet you.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you for coming in today to this incredible Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. We're going to start off here at Gasoline Alley. There's so many little nooks and crannies of the museum here, but I think it's an appropriate place to start. Jason, give us a quick rundown on what we can expect to see here in Gasoline Alley.
Well, Fletch, the Gasoline Alley is the nickname given to the garage area here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway through its history. So what we do here is we tell the story of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway through the lens of the garages. So we have 7 garages with various different vehicles on display. We also have corresponding display cases that tell and show artifacts and tell that history for guests to see both the vehicles and non-vehicle collection.
Now, the artifacts over there, Jason, also evolving in time as well as we walk down.
Yeah, it's an assortment of trophies, core documents, historic documents, artifacts like helmets, fire suits, things like that over the years.
Behind us, a 1914 Duesenberg, just to start the ball rolling. What can you tell us about this particular car, Jason?
So for passenger car fans, Duesenbergs in the 1930s was the utmost luxury and performance vehicle you could buy from the United States. It was developed by 2 German immigrants that immigrated to the United States during their early days. They fell in love with racing. They loved bicycle racing, quickly went into motorcycle racing, and then automobile racing. And with this Duesenberg, as well as the other race cars that they had later on, that technology and developments that they learned in racing went into their passenger cars. So this right here is an early example of a Duesenberg, but the team would go on to win the 500 in 1924, 1925, and also 1927.
Speaking of works of art, 1928 Miller Special.
So this is a 91.5 liter supercharged Miller, straight 8 Miller built car, but this one's unique because it is a front drive unit, which has its own role of history. In 1929, after it ran here at the Speedway in 28, it ran the Grand Prix circuit, and Ettore Bugatti actually bought this car to learn about the dual overhead camshaft configuration of the engine.
And being front wheel drive, obviously it did perform well. It tracked itself well.
Yeah, so they were developing front drive here at the Speedway, even dating back in 1925. A driver named Jimmy Murphy thought it would help with how the brakes became slippery with the oil on the track. So it was successful. They won in 1929, 1930, but quickly by the 1930s, the rear drive configuration was the prominent one.
Here we have 1964 Lotus, complete with the matching era refrigerator back there and the tools and the bench. And yeah, this is a really nice display.
Yeah, so our team went above and beyond to try to make each garage as period correct as possible. But this Lotus 34 shows the evolution in the 1960s from the front engine roadsters that we'll see a little bit later to the rear engine drivetrain that we know today. And really was started in 1961 by Jack Brabham coming with the Cooper team and doing well, that quickly reintroduced that concept to the Speedway and then became the de facto by the late 60s.
So Jason, the Lotus engine here, around a 4-litre engine and capable of almost 160 miles an hour.
Yeah, so that was it was just under that for the 4-lap average here. It's a naturally aspirated dual overhead cam Ford quad cam that they called at the time, and was battling the Offenhauser engine, which was the engine of choice at the time.
Jason, you'll have to educate us here. A 1978 Texaco Star display.
Yeah, so this is chassis-wise, it's a Wildcat. But uniquely, it was driven by a driver named Janet Guthrie. And Janet, in 1977, was the first female driver to qualify for the 500. The following year in this car, she finished 9th, which she held the record until 2005 of the highest finishing female driver to run the Indianapolis 500 before being surpassed by Danica Patrick.
So how many times would she have raced here at Indy?
She raced here in 77, 78, and 79.
The last car on display here in Gasoline Alley, and the significance here, Jason?
So this is Arie Luyendyk's track record holder. So nearly 30 years from when he set the track record.
It's amazing, Jason. What sort of track time are we talking here?
So as we qualify with 4-lap averages, there's two. He holds both the 4 and 1 lap average. The 4-lap average was 236.9 miles an hour and a 1-lap average of over 237 miles an hour.
Absolutely incredible.
My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing them. If you're into rods or customs, you'll know what I mean. It's all about passion, purity, and soul.
Customs and hot rods like the SoCal Roadster is what we do.
And insurance for cars like ours is what Shannons do.
Rods, customs, and even your daily drive. Call Shannons on 134646.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Like us.
If you own a Classic or two, make sure they are insured with Shannons. Perhaps you're after some cover for tools or memorabilia. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that the Shannons Club awaits you. For more information, visit shannons.com.au.
Now, Jason, we're starting at one of the first cars here, a 1911 Marmon Wasp. What can you tell us about this car?
Yeah, so this is one of the more iconic cars that is in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway collection. The Marmon Wasp was the inaugural winner of the Indianapolis 500 held in 1911. It was driven by a driver named Ray Haroon. Marmon was an Indianapolis-built automobile company, which Indiana, the state, was leading producer of automobiles during that time. So it's a unique car because unlike a lot of the competitors, it was a streamlined single-seat car. It has the taper tail, so they were looking at aerodynamics at the time. It had an experimental straight six-cylinder that was about 470 cubic inches in liter size or displacement size. And Ray ran on a 2.5-mile oval for 6 hours and 42 minutes to win that first Indianapolis 500.
Now, I should have asked you this earlier, Jason. This particular part of the museum here, where are we standing?
So we are in the John H. Holliday Family Indianapolis 500 Winners Gallery. So this is one of two levels that highlight the winning Indianapolis 500 vehicles in the museum's collection.
Let's go check out that Delage over there.
Yeah, let's go.
We come over here to the 1914 Delage. This car behind us, a 6.2 litre 4-cylinder engine. That's amazing.
Yeah, we think of those are large engines today, but during this time, the French car companies were one of the leading manufacturers of the era, especially in racing. So in 1913, when Peugeot showed up, dominated the race. The following year, Delage showed up with René Thomas and won the race. But you know, it was very much a smaller engine compared to the 5 or 600 cubic inch engines that were running in other vehicles.
Looking at the mechanical side of the car, Jason, the nylon string wrapped around the leaf springs, what was the reason for that? To keep the grease in?
Probably some of that. Obviously, it is a French car, so they were very looking forward to the aesthetics of the car. So probably a maintenance, grease, and then some aesthetics too.
This 1928 Miller Special, this is a work of art.
Yeah, Fletch. I mean, when you look at the technology that Harry Miller was putting into these cars they was building in Los Angeles, California, it was the American car to have. The technology in the 20s was shrinking the displacement of the engine, and this car has a 1.5-liter supercharged straight-8 dual overhead cam engine that had high horsepower. Not only would they run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but they'd also at this time run on what they called board tracks, which were 1 to 1.5 mile tracks made of wood as a surface, which were high banked and really had extreme speeds.
We can see the early form of shock absorbers in front there with the friction damper. They were really, it was early days. They were finding their way, but they were slowly getting there, weren't they?
Yeah, and you know, you look at the technology in these cars, it's amazing, whether it be the centrifugal supercharger. In some cases, we have early intercooling for those superchargers to get more cold air into these engines. High revving for their time engines, and then just work of art, too, from the bodywork standpoint.
Moving into the 50s now with the Roadsters, the story here.
Yeah, so when you look at these cars, Fletch, they are typical Indianapolis cars from the 1950s. A gentleman named Frank Curtis would design these vehicles. This one actually behind us, Vukovic's car, debuted in 1952 and really set the Indianapolis society, if you will, on fire because they were a lot lower. The Offenhauser engine was offset to help with the cornering here in the ovals. This car set the stage. Quickly, you had other car developers and designers building similar cars, taking those, modifying it, and really through the early 1960s, the Roadster was the car to have.
Behind us now, we're into 1972 and a car with a wing.
Yeah, Fletch, this is a very instrumental year in the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 1972 was the first year USAC allowed bolt-on aerodynamic devices. Before that, they had to be kind of integral parts of the bodywork. So not only did the speeds drastically increase, the Indy cars really started to look like what we know Indy cars to look like today.
And again, the workmanship, look at those upper control arms, just absolute brilliance there in the making of those. And of course the turbo hanging out the back there. The whole thing's streamlined from the extractor, from the header pipe out through the rear. And it's just so beautiful up so close.
Yeah, so we talked about how the Offie was initially developed in the 1930s and evolved over the years. By the mid-60s, they started to turbocharge the Offies. And really, by the 70s here, you started seeing a lot of power in these cars. During qualifications, they would have about 1,100 horsepower. In the race, they'd have 1,000 out of these large, massive turbos.
Jason, I'd like to thank you for your time here today to show us around Gasoline Alley and inside there, the 500 winners, where that display in itself, you could spend most of the day in there just walking around as well. So thank you very much again.
Well, thank you, Fletch, and I appreciate you showing the renovated museum to your audience.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jason. Now, Kelsey, you've brought me down here into the basement. Now, once upon a time, this area used to be off limits to the general public, correct?
That's right, Fletch. But now we refer to it as the lower level, and now it's open to all guests. So you will find down here more of those Indianapolis 500 winning cars, as well as 2 rotating galleries that will change every 6 to 9 months. So that way, there's always something new to see.
So in the past, years ago, why was it such a secret down here?
It was essentially our storage. So we have nearly 200 cars in our collection, and we use the basement as storage for those cars. And every once in a while, we would offer tours to people, but we wouldn't let them take pictures because it was kind of like that behind the scenes. They weren't displayed nicely, that kind of thing. And when we renovated the museum, we really just wanted to make it more accessible to everyone. And we are utilizing more space now, so there's more for guests to see.
Thanks to Shannons, you are seeing some, and you are about to see some more, of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. And you're seeing it first on Classic Restos. Back with more right after this.
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Get a quote online or call 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Your story began in 1971. It's part of an endless tapestry that tells the story of our nation. It connects innovators to artisans, forests to houses, from the largest of operations to the smallest of outcomes. It's heritage. It's a legacy.
Inside here, you can feel an immersive starting line experience. What you're about to see here is extraordinary and awesome. Kelsey, moving through this incredible episode, you've now got us in the corridor here of Track Lounge.
Yes.
The photos behind us from 1964. Wow, back in 64 we would have had the Combi to do the track tour, right?
And now we'll be taking a golf cart.
Isn't that amazing? Now there's a little bit of a timeline down here with these pictures.
Yeah, it's a great visual representation of how long track tours have been going on. They've been a mainstay here at the museum. So once you learn all about the track and its history at the museum, you can leave and head on to a bus or a golf cart and see that track for yourself.
Okay, now I believe you are keeping something to last that's very special.
Fletch, now I'm going to take you to meet Aiden, our tour guide, who's going to take us out on track.
A trip around the circuit.
Yes.
Come with me. I'm about to take you for a lap around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Might not be at just over 200 miles an hour, but hey, we've got to take what we can get, right?
That's right.
All right, come on, let's go.
All right, so Fletch, we're going to take you out here to the gate here, of course, access panel to get to the track. Really, we're going to see a lot of safety vehicles during events, things like that. Now, you talk about history at this place. This really started in 1909, Fletch. As a testing ground, kind of a proving area just for early automotive industry, especially here in Indianapolis. Really just an area, you think about Detroit, you think about Cleveland, Chicago. This is kind of a central hub for any early automotive industries. Of course, whenever you get cars together, people tend to race them. Now, the original 4 owners, they decided they wanted a 3-mile track here, but of course, with racing comes spectators. And so they decided they didn't have enough land at the time to build a 3-mile track. They settled for a 2.5-mile oval. So the original surface was crushed stone and tar. In fact, it actually started to break apart the first couple events in 1909. So they decided to pave the entire 2.5 miles here with bricks. Now, of course, you see the surface now is asphalt. We're headed towards turn 2 now. Now, the track width here is 50 feet. And the corners here, it widens to 60 feet. The banking here is 9 degrees. We're about to feel that as we head into turn 2. Of course, you get a pretty good view of the spectator areas here. There's grandstands here on the outside. Towards the inside of the track, you can see these general admission mounds, the grass here. Total capacity here is around 350,000 or so. The corners here are a 1/4 mile each. And now we get a great view of the back straightaway here. The backstretch here is 5/8 of a mile. Of course, I talked about the bricks there, Fletch, about the 3.2 million bricks that they paved in 1909. However, of course, bricks aren't the best racing surface as speeds get quicker. In the 1930s, they really started to pave sections of the track, especially here in the corners, the back straightaway. By 1961, the entire track was paved with asphalt. So coming up here on our left, you'll see our dirt track, and Fletch, I gotta tell you, that's some of our more exciting racing here. We just had a sprint week here, so sprint cars, midget cars. You can see the grandstands they set up for that. Those are all temporary. There's really 3 tracks here. You have the 2.5-mile oval, of course. On the inside is our interior road course that was constructed for Formula 1 racing. They raced here for 8 years. The current iteration has 14 turns. Of course, we just saw the dirt track, so we really have 3 tracks here. Of course, up here on the wall, you can see some tire marks here, some dents in the wall. Now, you see those dents in the wall? That's the safer barrier. So, steel and foam energy reduction system. That was installed here in 2002. We're the first track to ever have some kind of safer barrier like that. So, the outside wall here, you can kind of see it come down here to concrete. And then in the middle, you'll see it kind of jut out here in turn 4 is foam barriers. And on the outside is steel. But here we go, we get a great view of the front straightaway here. A lot of the 235,000 permanent seats are in view. Of course, you have the pit lane over here on the left. Of course, coming up here on the left, you can see our pagoda. There's always been a kind of a need for a central tower to kind of keep track of the action on track, whether it's timing and scoring, race officials, things like that, even private suites, of course, here on the pagoda. This current iteration of the pagoda was constructed in 1999. On the left there, you can see Victory Podium, where the winning drivers celebrate. Of course, they drink something pretty special for the Indy 500, of course, drinking milk. Now, as you make our way here, we can see the bricks here in front.
This is incredibly surreal. It's hard to believe that I'm actually here. It gives you that feeling. Here's some original brickwork on the track. As Aiden said, going back to the early 1900s.
As you see, this can be pretty intimidating coming in here, turn 1. And so drivers as rookies here, especially during the Indy 500, they will be essentially taught or told to not take their foot off the gas coming down here. As you can see here, it's basically straight left.
Yeah.
It's a 90-degree corner.
Yeah. So what sort of speed typically would the cars be doing here, right?
So in the IndyCar series, they'll be coming in here about 243 miles an hour in qualifying trim. And like I said, they're told not to take their foot off the gas at all. So coming here to turn 1, Fletch, if you come here for an event, what you're gonna see is that there's really not a bad seat in the house. Lap times are about 40 seconds, so it's not like you'll have to wait very long for the cars to come back around.
So Aidan, how many acres are we looking at here for the Speedway?
We're looking right now at about 560 acres total.
You got a good job, haven't you?
I'd say I quite enjoy it, yeah.
Kelsey, that was amazing. Probably one of the nicest things that's happened in the history of Classic Restos, a lap around Indianapolis. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We're so happy you enjoyed.
The team here, Jason today, wonderful. Aidan on the cart just now. Isn't he a little encyclopedia?
He is. We're so lucky to have such a knowledgeable staff here.
And it's also emotional being here too. When you think of the drivers, past and of course present, that have helped to build the legacy here in Indiana.
It is, and you're not the first person to say that. I mean, people are very emotional, and they also are just inspired to see this place that's been around since 1909.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for all the weeks leading up to make this day a reality as we cross parts of the United States for 2025 with a big thanks to Shannons. There's going to be more content from the United States coming your way on next week's show. So until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch.
I'm Kelsey.
Thanks for watching. Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club, Kenworth Trucks Australia, Pace Farm Eggs, and Dasmac, shipping your classic car from the world to your doorstep.